Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking into something called temporal summation in neurons.
Yeah, it sounds technical, but it's really key.
Absolutely. Think of it as, cracking the code for how your brain handles rapid fire info, or even how we hold on to those really fleeting thoughts, short-term memories.
Exactly. It's fascinating how these neurons um, take a bunch of weak maybe signals that wouldn't do anything on their own,
Right.
but because they arrive close together in time, they add up. They create a much stronger message.
Okay, so let's get right to it. What is temporal summation? Maybe in simpler terms.
Okay, imagine a neuron getting these little taps, like tap, 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 one after the other, all at the same spot, the same synapse.
Hmm.
Temporal summation is basically how those taps, even if they're individually too weak, to make the neuron fire off its own signal.
They don't reach the threshold.
Right, they're subthreshold.
Hmm.
But because they happen so fast, tap, 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 the effect of the first one hasn't, completely faded before the next one hits.
Wow.
And they just pile up until maybe they reach that critical point.
So it's kind of like trying to push a stalled car. Like one little shove does nothing.
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
But if you get a few people pushing quickly, one after another.
Yeah, or even one person pushing repeatedly fast, you can get it rolling.
Yeah.
Same idea here.
Okay, so how does that work, like electrically inside the neuron?
Well, each tap is a neurotransmitter release. It causes a small electrical change in the receiving neuron, a little blip. We call it a postsynaptic potential, or PSP.
Okay.
And this blip, it only lasts for a short time.
Yeah.
But if another one arrives at that same synapse really quickly before the first blip disappears,
They overlap.
they overlap, yeah. And their electrical effects add together. They summate. So the overall charge inside that receiving neuron increases.
And that buildup, that's what eventually triggers the action potential, the neuron's main signal firing.
Precisely. These little PSPs, they might be subthreshold on their own, like we said. Not enough juice. But temporal summation lets this rapid sequence of subthreshold signals combine their power. They create a much bigger voltage change, hopefully big enough to cross the threshold.
Usually at the axon hillock. Great.
Usually, yeah, that's the trigger zone.
Hmm.
And if it hits that threshold there, bam, action potential. The neuron fires.
Now, you hear about spatial summation too. How is that different from this temporal time-based summing?
Good question. Spatial summation is more like the neuron getting several taps, but they arrive pretty much at the same time, only at different spots, different synapses.
Ah, okay. So spatial is about location, different inputs arriving together.
Yeah. Temporal is one input location, but repeated signals close together in time.
Got it. Both can make the neuron fire, just different mechanisms. One's about timing, one's about location.
Exactly. Different ways to integrate incoming information.
So if the sending neuron, the presynaptic one, starts firing really, really fast, what effect does that have?
Well, the faster it fires, the closer together those PSPs arrive at the postsynaptic neuron. And that close timing is like the secret sauce for temporal summation. The less time between those PSPs, the less chance each one has to fade away.
So they build on each other more effectively.
Perfectly put. It makes it much more likely that they'll sum up high enough to hit that firing threshold. Faster firing generally means stronger temporal summation.
Where is this really critical in our nervous system? Like, where does this rapid integration matter most?
Oh, pretty much everywhere, really. But think about sensory input. Feeling a vibration, maybe. It might start faint, but as it gets faster or stronger, temporal summation helps you register it properly.
Okay.
Or fine motor control. Your brain sends these rapid volleys of signals down to your muscles. Temporal summation at the neuromuscular junction helps ensure a smooth, sustained muscle contraction, not just a twitch.
Right, right. But what if the system needs to, like, stop a signal, even if there's this rapid firing trying to summate? How does inhibition play into this?
Ah, yeah, inhibition. That's crucial.
Uh,
So you also have inhibitory synapses releasing neurotransmitters that cause inhibitory postsynaptic potentials, or IPSPs.
the opposite effect.
Exactly. They make the inside of the neuron more negative, moving it further away from the firing threshold. It's called hyperpolarization.
Okay.
So even if you've got this rapid stream of excitatory PSPs trying to summate temporally,
Uh-huh.
if strong inhibitory IPSPs arrive around the same time, maybe at nearby synapses, they can cancel out the excitation.
So it's like hitting the brakes while someone else is hitting the gas?
Kind of, yeah. It's this constant balancing act, this push and pull between excitation and inhibition that determines if a neuron actually fires. Temporal summation is just one part of that equation.
We often talk about how drugs affect the brain. Can they mess with temporal summation specifically?
Oh, absolutely. Many drugs, especially psychoactive ones, work by changing neurotransmission.
How so?
They might um, increase or decrease the amount of neurotransmitter release with each presynaptic firing. Or they might affect how long the neurotransmitter stays in the synapse or how sensitive the postsynaptic receptors are.
I see.
Any of those changes will alter the size or the duration of those PSPs. And if you change the PSPs, you change how effectively they can summate, temporally or spatially.
So it directly impacts the summing process.
Okay.
You mentioned high-frequency signals earlier. Why is temporal summation so important for those?
Well, think about a really fast stream of information, like a very high-pitched sound maybe, processed by auditory neurons. Each individual cycle of the sound wave might only cause a tiny weak PSP.
Not enough on its own.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But because they're coming so rapidly, one after the other, temporal summation allows the neuron to sort of integrate this fast sequence.
Yeah.
It adds up those weak inputs.
To recognize the high frequency.
Exactly. It lets the neuron respond to patterns or frequencies that would otherwise be too weak or too fast to register from single events, like needing several quick glances to really see something moving fast.
And this isn't just theory, right? Scientists can actually watch this happen.
Oh yeah, it's a classic electrophysiology experiment. You can take a neuron in a dish, or even in a brain slice, and use an electrode to stimulate a presynaptic fiber with a series of weak electrical pulses, delivered very close together in time.
And you record from the postsynaptic neuron.
You do. And you can literally watch on the oscilloscope as each pulse causes a small subthreshold PSP and how these PSPs climb on top of each other.
Summing up,
Stepwise, until boom, the membrane potential hits threshold and you see a full-blown action potential fire. It's a direct demonstration.
That's cool. Okay, finally, let's connect this to memory. What's the proposed link between temporal summation and short-term memory?
Well, short-term memory or working memory is thought to involve sustained activity in specific neural circuits, keeping information online for a few seconds or minutes.
Right.
One way to maintain that activity is through reverberating loops where neurons excite each other in a cycle, but also just maintaining high-frequency firing within a circuit.
And temporal summation helps keep that going.
It could, yeah. The rapid repeated firing helps ensure postsynaptic neurons stay sufficiently depolarized, possibly through temporal summation, keeping that circuit active and holding on to the information temporarily. It's likely one mechanism contributing to that sustained activity.
Okay, wow. So let's try and wrap this up. Temporal summation. It's this really fundamental way neurons add up signals that arrive quickly, one after another, at the same connection point.
Yeah, over time. That's the key.
And this allows inputs that might be too weak on their own
Subthreshold inputs.
to actually trigger a response if they come in fast enough succession. And it's crucial for, well, almost everything: sensing things, moving muscles, processing rapid information.
Potentially even for holding thoughts in our mind for a short while.
It really shows how sophisticated our neurons are at handling information flow.
It's incredibly efficient, yeah. Integrate signals across time.
So, for you listening, maybe think about how you process information when it comes at you really fast. Does that speed sometimes make the message feel stronger or clearer, even if the individual bits seem small?
It's kind of like your own internal temporal summation at work.
Exactly. It's all about adding things up over time. Thanks for exploring the depths with us today.